Atm Naman, Abhinandan on Om Tathastu, and this is Manisha Adukia, continuing our series of self-realization. Today we'll take up a very important part, that self-realization series part 4, and I'll take up a short conversation where we will come to know about the center of consciousness, also known as Hara. आज हम चेतना के केंद्र के बारे में बात करेंगे, जिसको हम हारा भी कहते हैं, नाभि। तो इसको मैं एक सरल बनाने के लिए क्वेश्चन आंसर फॉर्म में मैं शेयर करती हूँ आपसे, और इसका मूल उद्देश्य है कि आप इसको सुनने के बाद अनुसरण करिएगा, और कहीं भी दिक्कत हो तो मैं हूँ, आपको एक मैसेज डालने की ज़रूरत है। द मेन रीज़न or the entire subject behind sharing this is that you start implementing it once you listen to this. If you need my guidance, I am there, and see whatever best you can start. So once one friend asks that how a person should find the internal center that is mentioned, and he had read something by Lao Tzu, and he's asking that how a person should find this internal center and develop its hunger. So there are two questions that he's asking: how to find it and how to develop its hunger. Now the master answers it that this is a very renowned master who is answering his answer, that sit with your eyes closed and think, where is the center of my body? We live through our body, but it is an unfortunate fact that we do not give any thought to the center of our body. We are completely ignorant of the pivot on which the body functions. Many people believe the head to be the center of all body functions because it is in the brain that all activities seem to take place. The fact is that the brain forms much later. When a child is conceived, there is no brain, and yet life functions, but that which is formed later cannot be the center. People who are emotional, like the women folk, artists, poets, feel the center to be the heart. This is so because whenever these people have known and experienced love, beauty and light, all things that have had a direct impact is the heart. That is why when people talk of love, their hand inadvertently goes to their heart. So those who are emotional take the heart to be the center of the body, but the heart does not beat until the child takes its first breath. The child hears the mother's heartbeat within. So the sound tick tick causes not only children but also adults to fall asleep. Notice this next time. Notice this. Notice this one also. The sound of water dripping or the ticking of a watch induces sleep. Observe this and share with me also whenever you do it. The earlier the better. Doctors say that the ticking of a clock is a very good tranquilizer. The heart in the embryo does not function like a heart, and yet the child is alive. Therefore, the heart also is not the center. Now we come back again to Lao Tzu, where he says that the navel is the center and not the heart or the brain. The child is joined to the mother by its navel. The first glimpse of life comes through the navel. This is scientifically correct. So search within. Lao Tzu says, Keep searching within and bring your consciousness to the level of the navel center. This is the first step of sadhana. When the authentic center and the center of your understanding become one, you will become a united, integrated whole. When the center of your mind, the center of your consciousness and your authentic center concentrate and converge into a single focus, you will find that your life has changed. You are now a new person altogether. Lao Tzu's disciples have for ages been carrying out a simple experiment to prove that you cannot grow unless you locate your center within. Now, I will talk about the experiment. The experiment is like this, that take 2 small tanks of equal dimensions, fill them with water, insert an iron rod in the middle of one tank, leaving the other as it is. Put 2 identical fish and put one in each tank. Given the same condition and the same diet, you will be surprised to find that the fish in the tank with the iron rod in the center develops quickly, whereas the growth of the fish in the other tank, which is without the central rod, is slower. The fish in the tank number 1 swims around and around the rod, while the fish in the tank number 2 has no center. It swims here and there listlessly in the absence of a center and is also more prone to illness. This experiment has been religiously carried out by the followers of Lao Tzu for hundreds of years, and it has always been found that the fish in tank with the center rod has always been well developed and healthy, whereas the fish in tank number 2 was stunted in growth and unhealthy. The followers of Lao Tzu they maintain that a person who succeeds in locating his center finds his consciousness revolving around and around this center. It is only then that his consciousness begins to develop. Those who do not find their center remain stunted and lifeless, like the fish in the second tank, because they have no center, no base around which they can revolve and develop. They cannot find their direction, where they should go, what they should do. By revolving around the same circumference, the consciousness develops. Lao Tzu further says that your consciousness becomes concentrated when it discovers the navel center. Then it begins to evolve around it. When you walk, keep your attention on the navel. When you sit, keep your mind on the navel. When you get up, be aware of the navel. I am not saying all this. Lao Tzu is saying all this. Do what you will. But let your consciousness always move around the navel. Become a fish and go around and round the navel. And you will soon discover a new powerful consciousness arising within you. The results are wondrous. There are many experiments you carry out. You are sitting on a chair. Now, Lao Tzu further says, your way of sitting on the chair is wrong. Therefore, you get tired. He says, do not sit on the chair. This does not mean you are not actually to sit on the chair. That you should sit on the chair. Sit on the chair, but do not put your weight on the chair. Put all your weight on the navel. You can carry out the experiment right away. It is only a matter of emphasis. When we put all our weight on the chair, the emphasis is on the chair. The chair becomes the all in all. You are merely like a coat hanging on a peg. If the peg breaks, you fall down like the coat, which has no center of its own and which depends on the peg for its center. Lao Tzu says you will tire yourself this way because you are not acting like an animate, conscious being and are depending entirely on an inanimate object. Lao Tzu says that sit on the chair but Be fixed at your own center at the navel. Hang everything on the peg of the navel. Hours will go by and you will find no sign of fatigue. If a man begins to live by hanging his consciousness on the peg of the navel center, all mental fatigue vanishes. A unique freshness pervades his mind, a serene calmness flows within him, and he gains a self-confidence which only those who have found their center attain. So the first step in this sadhana is to find your center and to continue your efforts till the consciousness reaches not only the navel but 2 inches below the navel. The hara is actually 2 inches below the navel. Put your 2 fingers below your navel. There you have the nabhi or the hara. This is the place where you should take all your focus on, 2 inches below the navel. Then one should, this is something practically which a person who has done it practically can tell you. It is not actually the navel or the nabhi but 2 inches below the navel. Then one should begin to keep this center always in mind. When one breathes in, the center should rise up. When one breathes out, the center should go down. Then a constant japa begins the rising of the center with the incoming breath and the falling of the center with the outgoing breath. Very simple. If this becomes a conscious act, it yields great results. This is very difficult, of course, in the beginning because remembrance is the most difficult thing to do. Constant remembrance is even more difficult. You might say that is not such a difficult thing at all. I can recollect the name of a person even after 6 years. This is not remembrance. This is recollection or smriti. Understand the difference. Recollection means you know something. You pass it on to your memory for recording. The memory stores this information and reproduces it on demand. Remembrance or smaran means constant, non-stop remembering. Try it a little. Observe the rising and falling of your abdomen as the breath comes and goes for just 5 minutes. After 2 seconds, you will find that you have forgotten. You have started to do something else. Then you will be perturbed. You could not concentrate even for 2 seconds. The respiration was going on as usual. The abdomen also rose and fell accordingly, but you were not there. Then again bring back your remembrance. If you strive continuously, your remembrance will increase second by second. Then you find that you can observe the breath constantly without a simple break for 3 minutes. And this short interval of 3 minutes will seem like 3 years. Then you will find that you have begun to experience the center correctly. Then you will feel the body to be separate from the center. The center is the center of energy. One who is united to this center reaches infinite exhalation because he is constantly receiving infinite energy. So keep a constant remembrance of the navel center and let your consciousness revolve around it constantly. That is the temple. Keep circling around this temple, whatever the state within you, whether there is anger or hatred, jealousy or misery or happiness, whatever the state, your first duty is to return to the navel. Then do whatever you wish. Someone gives you news of the death of a loved one. Go back to the navel. Then let the news go within you. Lao Tzu is saying all this, so he continues that no one's death will cause a blow to the mind. You may not have observed, or perhaps you have, or maybe you realized later on, recollecting the incident, that whatever you have been given news of great joy or sorrow, the first effect has always been on the navel. You are walking on the road or cycling or going in a car, and suddenly an accident occurs. The first impact is on the navel. It begins to tremble. Then the whole body begins to tremble. Lao Tzu says, whenever anything happens, go back first to the navel center. Your first work is remembrance of the navel. Then do what you like. Then happiness will not make you mad. With joy and sorrow will fail to make you unhappy. Then your center will stand apart from the happenings that take place on the periphery. Then you remain the witness only. Yoga says that practice and sadhana of witnessing. Lao Tzu says that remember the navel center constantly, and the witness state will result by itself. You will step out of birth and death the day you become conscious of your navel center, because this center arises before birth and is the only thing that remains after death when all else is lost. So he who knows and recognizes this navel center knows that there is no birth for him and no death. He becomes beyond birth and death. Keep constant remembrance. Seek the center and keep incessant remembrance. That means smaran. You should keep remembering about the center. The first thing is to find the center. Second is to keep on remembering about it. And the third is to remember the frequent loss of the remembrance. Very simple. He has put it in 3 steps. That the first is to find the center. Second is to keep remembering it, and third is to remember the frequent loss of remembrance. This is going to be rather difficult. Initially it will be. People come and say, I try to keep my attention on my nabhi, the navel, but I cannot. What should I do? To this, I say keep attention on the fact that you have lost attention. The third point, keep remembrance of the fact that you have forgotten the navel. The answer to that is keep attention on the fact that you have lost attention. Make it a part of your meditation. Be attentive to inattention also. The third point is explained very beautifully here. Don't let it pass unnoticed by you. Whenever you slip, be conscious of the slip and you will go back to remembrance. The current of meditation will join the mainstream again. That means you will come back again to your remembrance, to the center. Now the last thing, when the remembrance is complete and the center becomes clear to you, when you experience the center, then surrender everything to the center. Say to the center, you alone are the master. Release me. The surrender is easy. Surrender is very difficult until the center is experienced. People say surrender to God, but we have no knowledge of God. How is surrender to an unknown entity possible? And even if God is known, you still remain the owner of your surrender. If you feel sometimes that God is not to your taste, you will withdraw your surrender. This actually happens. Those who have done it, they know it. We are the givers and we are the withdrawers. What can God do? But the surrender that can be withdrawn is no surrender. In fact, it was never a surrender. Lao Tzu's method is different. He says that the day the center is known and felt, you begin to understand and experience that the center is the master that does not need your assistance. The breath comes and goes, sleep comes, then awakening, birth happens, then death. The current of life flows on from the center without your help. Then the question of surrendering does not arise because surrender just happens. So the third and last stage of sadhana is to experience the surrender of the center. Then there is no way for the ego to save itself. In the stage of such surrender, a person reaches the highest attainment. This is a practical thing which needs to be followed. If you have never done sadhana or meditation in your life, you can connect with me. And if you have understood the 3 stages mentioned very clearly here in a very simple way, start it at your own risk. If you feel you cannot do it, you are free to reach whomever you want, or you are free to reach me also. This is the 4th part of the self-realization series. Share it with as many as you can. Any doubts, you are most welcome to ask. Jai Hind. Manisha Dukia. Jai Hind.